A new COVID case crops up in Huntsville. Elective surgeries back on the operating table in Muskoka. And fresh cuts return to slice through that pandemic hair. All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Cogeco News for June the 16th. I'm James Bowler with what's happening in your community. And to our top story, Huntsville has another infection of COVID-19. Just a week after a report that a woman in her 70s was infected from within the community, a second recent case of COVID-19 is being confirmed by the health unit. This time a man in his 60s is infected. The cause of the infection is currently under investigation according to the health unit. We'll follow up with more details as they become available. But Dr. Charles Gardner with the health unit says this increase falls in line with an overall increase we've seen unit-wide in the past few weeks.
For the past 5 weeks, we've seen a decline from week to week in cases. However, in the last week, we actually had an increase in cases. So that was a reversal of the trend. So the week of June the 8th, we had 26 cases, whereas the week before, the week of June the 1st, we had 19 cases. And then the week before that, on May the 25th, we had 26 cases. And the week before that, on May the 18th, the week of May the 18th, we had 40 cases, and so on and so forth. Week after week before that, there was a higher number of cases than the week that followed. So a number of weeks in which it was coming down, and then last week it came up. During this week, the week of June the 15th, we currently have 15 cases. Of course, our week is not over, so we'll see how many cases will end up by the end of the week. So if you look.
Meanwhile, the province is continuing to ease municipal restrictions. The latest are restrictions on services like splash pads. However, Gravenhurst Mayor Paul Kelly tells Your TV they're definitely not rushing into these allowances.
The challenge, of course, is when the province makes a decision to move forward with those businesses that were kind of kept on hold and those opportunities that were kept on hold previously. One of the challenges, of course, is getting them back up and running. The province makes an announcement one day, and many people in the community expect them to be up and running that day or the next day. It does require additional staff to do some of the projects to get them back up and running. And I know that's true for the businesses who are going through a similar kind of problem, in that once they get the announcement, they do have to have protocols in place. That same thing applies for any of our splash pad, the outdoor pools, or any of those things that were allowed by the province. It's not a free-for-all. So the province has clearly indicated that there still must be healthcare protocols put in place to protect both staff and the community when they're using them. So the splash pad would be a good example. They'll be getting that up and running very soon. They got to make sure that the health unit feels it's compliant in what they expect. The arena is not going to, the ice is not going to be in this summer. One of the, I guess from an upside perspective, Samantha, regarding the COVID, if there's any upsides, for municipalities and for others, it's provided an opportunity to get some work done that would not normally been able to get done at this time of the year. Examples would be work at the arena, the repainting and work inside that wouldn't have normally been able to do. The Opera House stage has been reconstructed. So a number of other municipal facilities where work would normally have to be postponed or delayed until the fall, until there was less traffic. Those have been able to be started to be worked on, if not completed by this point in time. Other than that, I think we just need to be on guard, because we do not want to see a second wave. And so keeping the precautions are really important for everyone. At this point in time, it is positive news, and we just hope it'll continue on that upward curve.
MP Scott Aitchison was in the House of Commons today with questions for several ministers. In this clip, the Parry Sound Muskoka MP focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on summer camps.
3 weeks ago, I asked this government if the finance minister would meet with the beleaguered summer camp sector. Summer camps, which are a social and economic mainstay in Parry Sound, Muskoka, and all of Northern Ontario, have been crippled by the global pandemic. It's costing millions of jobs, and some camps are actually in danger of folding. Aside from a brief follow-up conversation over the phone with the junior minister, there has still been no action from this government. When will the Minister of Finance meet with summer camps to find a solution?
We recognize the importance of looking at that and paying attention to the needs of that community, and we will continue to engage with them as we have to ensure and find ways in which we can get their feedback and find ways in which we can support them. And so that work is ongoing, and I assure the honourable member that our focus is on the kids and ensuring that they have access to summer camps for this year.
Mr. Atkinson.
Aitchison, I don't know why you need to find ways to get feedback. The Summer Camps Association has given lots of feedback. My office has given lots of feedback, so I don't know what's confusing about this, but I've become accustomed to not really getting answers to questions.
Aitchison also had questions about lifting restrictions to allow for Parry Sound's Island Queen to resume operations, as well as broadband funding. We will be speaking to MP Aitchison this Friday when he records his riding report program. Well, we are going to take our first break, but we continue to talk about the ease of restrictions in municipalities up next. Welcome back. We spoke earlier in the show about some ease on restrictions for municipalities. Well, the province is also easing restrictions on hospitals as well, allowing for more elective surgeries to move forward.
Hospitals in Ontario about mid-March paused their elective and non-urgent surgeries and procedures in order to make sure that we had adequate personal protective equipment, staff, bed capacity, etc. available in case there was a surge in COVID activity, as we were anticipating back in March. Last week, the government allowed us to proceed with a measured, staggered approach to resuming surgical procedures and other procedures in the hospital. So we're starting with surgery right now. But I should say that over the first 12 weeks of the pandemic, we did do emergent and urgent surgeries here at the hospital, and we did about 260 procedures over that period of time. So our measured approach is to start with about 60% of the capacity that we were doing pre-COVID, and we're going to test that out for a period of time to make sure that all our processes are safe. We're keeping physical distancing, we're having adequate PPE. There's a number of criteria that the ministry is requiring in order for hospitals to proceed, and that is an adequate supply of personal protective equipment, medications that are used for surgery like propofol, those types of things. So we do have to report on that on a weekly basis. Well, I think they've just been fabulous. They've been extraordinary. I mean, every one of them, not just our doctors and our nurses, but all hospital staff, are heroes, in my opinion. A lot of fear, particularly at the beginning, a lot of planning that needed to take place. and the entire team has come together. I'm exceptionally proud of them. I mean, specifically related to surgery, we're at about a 60% operating volume right now, and we're hoping that by the end of July, if everything goes well, that we should be back up to about 100%.
Great. Okay.
Now, we do have anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000 procedures that need to be scheduled that we weren't able to get to during the pandemic that's occurred up to now. So we have not resumed other services as yet. We're still planning that. So I think it's going to take some time to be able to do this in a measured way to ensure that we are complying with all the criteria that need to be out there to keep people safe, like physical distancing, and of course available PPE. I don't believe we'll ever get back to what the normal was like before. It's going to be a new normal, and I think the public should be prepared for things to be looking quite different when they come into the hospital. I would think as long as the virus is out there and there isn't a solution to that, we will continue to do what we think is safe, and that would include wearing masks, the physical distancing, washing your hands frequently, and staying home if you're unwell.
And continuing the discussion about easing restrictions, you can now get a haircut. The convenience, which has quickly become a hot commodity in Muskoka. Artisans Edge in Muskoka is one barbershop that's preparing to offer this service to those who need it.
So I had actually expected that we would be in stage 3. That was kind of the talk of the town, that you know, the province was going to wait until July. So I had been proactive. I had ordered a month ago quite a bit of our products and PPE that we were going to need, but it was with delays in the postal service and everything else that they're still not here. So that's kind of added a bit of pressure, but we weren't given a lot of notice, unfortunately. It was like, we can open Friday. We had about a week of notice. So that's kind of put a little, I would have loved to have been open today, but we needed to make sure that the shop was safe and that the clients were going to stay safe, that my people would stay safe, because it's quite serious. We want to make sure that, you know, we get back to business, but that the environment that we're in, the customers are comfortable. When you get to the shop, we are asking customers to park and stay in their car before, you know, they come in. We will come and get you when we're ready for the next customer. We do want everyone wearing a mask. That's going to be no question. But we do have extra masks if people don't have one to purchase here. We've made sure we have extra. We do have capes on the way. There was a bit of a shortage, so we love our planet. So we don't want to be using disposable capes, but we are using those temporarily until our other capes come in, because I'm a big believer in not polluting our beautiful earth. So that's very temporary, but yes, we've made sure everyone will have their own cape. Everything's sterile and safe for the clients.
Of course, you can book online now. Artisans Edge opens in Huntsville and Gravenhurst tomorrow. Now, if you're looking for more than just a haircut, the barbershop is also looking for new employees. You can find more details by going to the Artisans Edge Facebook page. We are taking another break, but when we come back, a chat with our local MPP. Welcome back, and joining me from his office at Queen's Park via phone is our MPP Norm Miller. Norm, thanks very much for taking the time today.
My pleasure, James.
So I wanted to talk to you, Norm, quickly about the childcare rules that have been set in place. The provincial government recently allowed for more childcare services to open. However, there seems to be a bit of a, slowdown in service in Muskoka, and I understand there's a few rules in place. Anyways, let's talk a bit about that. So I just want to hear from your perspective, from the government's perspective, what's happening with childcare in Muskoka right now.
Sure. Well, first of all, licensed childcare is able to open when they are able to do safely. So there's not a firm date at which they have to be open, but they're allowed to be open. And there's really two components to opening. Number one, and probably most importantly, is health and safety and addressing all those concerns so that people that work there and kids that are going to be there are safe. So the government has come up with a comprehensive operational guidance document to address health and safety. So things like sanitation and PPE and the policies. So a child care center must have written policies as an attestation to the minister, with input from the local health unit so that there can be regional differences, and must follow the guidelines of the local public health unit, using things like screening, and that's the same protocols that were used very successfully for the emergency child care centers. So that's some of the sort of policies, and it's all in this operational guidance document. Another part of that is that there would be cohorts of up to 10 people, and that includes the adults. So that means that child care centers would be operating at less than full capacity, which means there would be vacancies. So that affects the financial viability of the child care center. So I can address that as well if you'd like. So that's the other component, is keeping things financially viable for the child care center and for parents as well. So there is going to be provincial funding to address the fact that they won't have as many people to make up for the kids that won't be there because of the restrictions for the vacancies. There will be money for cleaning and for PPE, but the stipulation on that, to be eligible for that provincial funding, is the child care center has to not increase charging the fees charged to parents. They can't be more than the pre-COVID rates to be eligible for that enhanced funding. So that's a key part of it, so that parents would pay the same, but despite the fact that there's these increased costs. And the federal programs would also help out to keep the child care centers whole in terms of the finances.
I want to swing back around to those changes, but before we do that, what I'm hearing here is that these child care centers, they had the ability to open. However, obviously there are guidelines in place. They need to get their services set up in order to follow those guidelines.
That's correct.
So it might take a little bit of time for some of them to open, and we did hear from the district that was the case as well.
And I think childcare is essential to the sort of full reopening of the economy, and that's obviously something that I think we all want to see, people getting back to work and families getting back to whatever the new normal is, but it's really important, and childcare is a key part of that.
Norm, before we do have to go to break soon, but before we do, one main concern we had brought up from a viewer was that there was some comment about possibly losing a spot if a parent isn't comfortable letting their child use child care services in Muskoka once they open. Now, I'm hearing that's not supposed to happen, right? What you're hearing is correct. So what I was told was that as the child care centers begin to open, they may begin charging fees for services provided or services not provided for this parent you're describing. Parents would continue to be protected from paying fees, meaning they wouldn't have to pay their fees and they would not lose their space. So that's really clear, and that's what I've been told from history. If a parent has an issue like this with a child care service in Muskoka, what is their next step? I would say that they could certainly reach out to our office and we can make inquiries. But first of all, I would be talking with the actual child care center directly to begin with, and communicate directly with them. Okay. Norm, thank you so much for taking the time. There's so much more we could talk about. We have a limited time today, so we will catch up with you again, but really appreciate the work you're doing, and thanks for taking the time.
My pleasure, James.
All right, we are going to take another break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Well, your dream cruise on Lake Muskoka may have to wait a bit longer, as Muskoka Steamships is still keeping its boats docked for the foreseeable future.
In normal circumstances, this would be a beautiful, busy day and you'd see cars and buses in our parking lot, but of course that's not possible with COVID. So right now, a lot of people are asking when we're going to reopen and if we're going to reopen for the summer. The truthful answer is we're not sure yet. We're waiting for Transport Canada guidelines on July 1st that will help inform us. We're also watching the provincial protocols and things like that. The truth is it's not feasible for us to open until the gathering numbers get up to a certain level, at least 50% of occupancy of our steamships. So we're not going to sail Seguin this year. We are going to sail Winona, and we'd like to see the numbers get up to 100 people before we can leave the dock. Of course, we've been planning frantically about provincial protocols in terms of distancing and hygiene and things like that. We won't operate if it's not safe for our crew, our staff, and our customers. So I can say that probably within the next 3 weeks we'll have an idea of what a return to operating looks like, if indeed we're heading that way. I would also say that if by perhaps Labor Day we're not able to operate for whatever reason because of COVID, that will probably mean the end of the season. So, you know, it's something it's a crisis for our organization, and we need to address it properly. And our biggest priority is to safely return to operation. So right now we're just in a holding pattern, trying to collect as much information as we can, and we'll know more in about 3 weeks.
Looks like another unfortunate tourism casualty of the summer. Hopefully we can see some more of these services open back up soon. We are going to take our last break, but when we come back, a recap of what made headlines in Muskoka today. Welcome back, and here's a look at what made headlines today in Muskoka. You heard it earlier. Huntsville has another confirmed case of COVID-19, this time a man in his 60s. The gain in cases is following an upward trend that has been seen by the health unit in the last few weeks for both Simcoe and Muskoka. Scott Aitchison had the opportunity to be physically present in the House of Commons this week and wasted no time hammering his Liberal counterparts with questions about the impact of COVID-19 on summer camps and tourism. And that comfortable cruise on Lake Muskoka will have to wait as Muskoka Steamships is keeping its ships docked indefinitely amid the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll keep you updated on when that service is expected to return to operation. Well, that's Cogeco News. For more information on the program, head over to yourtv.tv or connect with us on social media by searching Your TV Muskoka. Bingo players in Huntsville and Parry Sound, get your cards ready once again as we return with Rotary Bingo. The last 2 nights since the return of the game, there haven't been any jackpot winners, so you could win that $4K tonight. It starts at 7. Remember to watch us live at 5 Monday to Thursday, and from everyone here at Cogeco News, thanks for watching. Have a good night.